The Roman army has made camp, and they are just under 10 million strong. With Roman Praetorian Guards, Triarii, legionnaires, archers, catapults, and so much more, assaulting the modern U.S. Army bridge defense, which is comprised of riflemen, rangers, Navy SEALs, Marines, M1A2 Abrams Tanks, CIWS missile systems, and more. Can they defend the bridge against nearly 10 million Roman soldiers? Or will they fall to the wayside? Only time will tell. If you guys do enjoy this video, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and comment down below if you'd like to see some more Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator 2 in the future. Now let's get it. Alright boys, here we go. 9.55 million Roman army soldiers charging 26,100 U.S. Army soldiers defending. Now the U.S. Army is pretty stacked here, and they tend to win these battles if they do have a choke point available to them. However, the one major drawback to their defense is the enemy they're going up against this time. Now when the Romans have no ranged units, they do very poorly, but this time around we have an unprecedented 1 million Roman archers and 50,000 Roman catapults. Now, as you can see, the CIWS are absolutely devouring these catapults in short bursts of fire that dismantle them almost instantly, so that's not really doing all that much. But eventually, a few of them will get forward and lob some of their big rocks onto some of the U.S. Army soldiers, inevitably getting some kills. On top of that, a lot of arrow fire is going out and is actually getting a few kills on the U.S. Army here already. So, while things are going quite well for the U.S. Army, and they do have a choke point defense against a 90% melee unit army, still the Romans have a few tricks up their sleeves that could end up in a U.S. Army defeat here. Now, if that happens and it's a very lackluster battle, we can always go back and try it again and adjust and crunch some of the numbers and, you know, try and make it so as if there's a part 2 to the same battle in this very video. However, the same will happen for the Romans. If the battle is far too advantageous for the U.S. Army, then maybe we have to add even more Romans to the army and have them attacking, or add even more catapults to the Roman army and have them attack. However, I tried my best to make this battle as even as possible. Now, I did run this battle for a couple of hours, and both sides seem to do pretty well. However, it's a battle that could last for tons of hours, and I am ready to do so. It's a little later in the evening today, and I'm willing to leave my computer running this battle if it does end up lasting for an extremely long period of time into tomorrow to find out what ends up happening during this thing. But hopefully we can get a good resolution to this battle where both sides are fairly even, have their strengths, have their weaknesses, and we get to see some crazy Roman ancient army versus modern U.S. Army carnage, baby. Now, a lot of these catapult shots are coming in pretty hot right now, and they are definitely getting quite a number of U.S. Army kills, so that's not very nice. We do not like to see. The CIWS, though, also doing some extreme damage. But the U.S. Army is outnumbered like 10,000 to 1, maybe even more. I don't know. I can't do math that well or that fast. But yeah, they're seriously outnumbered. So every single U.S. Army soldier is worth so much more than every single Roman army soldier. The M1A2 Abrams, though, should be pretty helpful in this. They're frontlining, and they have like 20,000 health or something along those lines. So those guys can absorb a lot of these catapult shots as well as arrow shots. A lot of them will just kind of dink off of their armor, actually, and not do any damage, which will hopefully help to protect some of these M4 soldiers behind the Abrams and give them a little bit more time to get some of their pew fire time out before the Romans end up descending upon them. So it's very good that this armor is front and center, and I think it will definitely buy the U.S. Army some serious time in the long run. And then all the way back here, of course, we've got the CIWSs firing away, so that's going to be extremely good firepower, especially against the catapults. That's going to be essential in taking out large swaths of catapults early on. And then in the very back here, we've got these missile systems, and these puppies, one shot, so they do have the range to hit from this far away. That's kind of crazy. But oh, well, there's another one. All right, they're shooting very slowly. I don't know why they're shooting so slowly. Maybe once the enemy gets closer, they'll rapid fire out and stuff like that. But for now, at least they're shooting somewhat. They are surrounded by some more M4 soldiers as the last stand of this battlefield. In front of them, we have some more camo M4 soldiers, which is pretty cool. Right up here at the immediate entrance to the bridge, we have our shotgun units. So those guys will shoot those guys up once they're leaving the bridge if they get that far. We've also got marksman riflemen over here for the U.S. Army. Those guys are going to be pretty brutal. We're in the land again. And then over here, we have some LMG units as well. So good weapon variety for the U.S. Army soldiers. I believe these units were made by Jamie D, the modder. And I think the map is a chaotic pinky map. I think, but don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. Oh. Wait, is this? Oh, yeah. Couple of the M1A2 Abrams are already dead. That's actually very not good. They did not last as long as I would have liked, and it's probably because the onslaught of catapult fire is increasing exponentially. Also, we see Roman legionnaires charging on in here, so they might even get close enough to start swinging on some of the U.S. infantry. Yeah, more of the Abrams going down. This is not good. They are not going to be surviving for much longer on this. And then we'll have the rest of the bridge defending after those Abrams right there. Right now, we are at 23,538 remaining U.S. Army soldiers and 9.42 million remaining Roman soldiers. The total kills at the top right won't be accurate because of the amount of splash damage that both sides have, and those don't count as kills. However, from the beginning, we have like 150,000 or so dead Romans and about 2.5K dead U.S. Army soldiers, I believe, at this point in time, which isn't a great ratio currently for the U.S. Army, but we could see improvements, especially because more missile system shots seem to be going out now, which is going to be crucial. CIWS is still firing away. There is just one Abrams left, so that one will probably go down fairly soon. Why don't we go ahead and time-lapse the end of the Abrams supremacy reign in the frontier and the Romans coming on in. What's up, gamers? I'm here to tell you about Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is an amazing place where you can get some fire deals on all sorts of video games. Seriously, it's like 60 to 95% off, as you can see here. These are all of the Star Wars titles they have. They literally have every Star Wars title. You can also get XCOM here, Men of War Assault Squad 2. All of the games I play on the channel you can buy here for extremely cheap prices. If you use my affiliate link in the description, it helps me out a ton. So thank you guys for listening to this sponsorship, and thank you to Instant Gaming for continuing to sponsor the channel. Okay, so the Abrams are fully dead now, and the U.S. Army soldiers back here are now the front lines, and they're also kind of getting killed pretty good here. I was hoping the CIWSs would consolidate on the front lines a little bit more, but a lot of them are still kind of arching over that, which I guess is also good because they'll be hitting more of the catapults, which is helpful. But yeah, I was kind of hoping they'd do more like these guys are doing and just destroy the front line of enemies and prevent them from coming forward, especially those archers, which are very problematic during this. But I guess it's a bit of a split of both currently, so it's not really too horrible. Yeah, either way, the Romans are going to be coming forward here and probably taking the front of the bridge. I think the best thing that can happen, though, is that the choke point of the bridge itself ends up getting held by the U.S. Army soldiers and prevents the Romans from pushing further out. Because we have so many soldiers consolidated around here, this choke point will be so deadly. So they might cross the bridge itself, but I think right here could be a good place to establish a holding pattern. We'll see if it happens, but let's watch up close some of these CIWSs and soldiers firing. Alright, we're about to pass 9 million remaining Romans, and they are kind of getting hard blocked over here. Some pretty major, substantial body piles rising up above this. Look at that. The catapults are still coming forward, though. I think that will be the undoing of the bridge itself, but then hopefully back here, this will continue to hold quite nicely. At least that's what I think. Look at that, missile systems helping out tremendously now, and the CIWS is continuing to fire quite nicely as well. We are down to 22,500 remaining U.S. Army soldiers, so they've lost about 3.5k, and about 500,000 Romans are dead on the battlefield now. So, some better progress for the U.S. Army. They've definitely been holding better right now, and hopefully that does continue on. The marksmen over here are like firing a little bit, but the machine gunners aren't firing at all, and the shotgun units are like barely firing, so there's still a lot of potential back here for firepower that's just not being used yet. It's mainly M4s right now firing. Either way, why don't we do a little bit of a bird's eye view time lapse here as we watch the Romans try to take over the bridge defense. Well, boys, 45 minutes later, and the CIWSs did end up dying during that time lapse. But look at this, they got a lot of kills before they went down, and in fact, the U.S. Army is cresting into their 1 million kill territory. They've got 8.6 million Romans remaining, so they're just 50,000 kills short of a million, I believe, if my maths are correct. So that's pretty crazy. They're continuing to get good arching kills with the missile systems, which is great, although I'm noticing the catapults are getting more shots off now on these clumped up soldiers. The guys spread out on the bridge didn't get impacted too badly by the catapults when they did shoot because they were more spread out, but these guys are so clumped together, each shot does a ton of damage to a bunch of soldiers, which is not very nice at all. There's still 20,744 remaining U.S. Army soldiers, so at the very least, they've only lost like just under 6k, which isn't too bad, but you know, it's a fifth of their total force, and the enemy has only lost like a tenth of their total force, so they're not really on track to win this yet, but hopefully they can hold this line here for an extended period of time. The real problem is the fact that they're already kind of getting butchered around here, so I'm just not sure that's going to happen. Either way, that was a long first time lapse. We're going to time lapse again here, but it might get to the point where it gets a little late at night and we let it play through the night and find out what happens in the morning. And then we potentially do another battle then, depending on if the U.S. Army ends up getting just completely destroyed or not, which is very possible. Either way, let's watch this now. Actually, let's do like this, a little bit closer. Alright boys, I let this run for about 45 minutes and nothing has really changed. Still 20,000 remaining US Army soldiers and 8.4 million remaining Romans, so over 1 million of them have been killed, and about 6,000 or so US Army soldiers have been killed at this point. But it is quite late and I want to go to bed, and since not really much is changing, I think we're going to let this run. If, the result is the game is still going in the morning, which is very much so a possibility since this is a definite choke point defense, then we will find out how the U.S. Army is doing, or I think really it's either the battle's still going or the U.S. Army loses by morning. I'm hoping they're still going, but the U.S. Army could lose. If they do lose, we will try buffing their ranks to make them a little bit more powerful so that they can maybe win. Either way, it'll be 8 hours for me, 2 seconds for you guys, so see you in a second. Well, boys, it's the next morning, and it looks like the Romans ended up taking the W. And I'm not seeing, like, massive body piles over here, so I think they won fairly quickly in the night. This body pile is pretty huge, so they took some significant losses here. But yeah, at the end of the day, they still have 7 million troops left, so they only took 2.5 million additional losses, which is not astounding for the modern U.S. Army. So why don't we go ahead and give the modern U.S. Army a few more tricks up their sleeves to maybe hold this bridge defense. We have made some small yet mighty changes to the battlefield now. So, we have 31,140 additional troopers for the US, which is only like 5,000 or 6,000 more troops. It's really not that much. And they're fighting the exact same Roman army. But this time, their CIWSs are a little bit farther back around the bridge, so I think that'll make the choke point a little bit more holdable, and I pushed these troopers actually like right up against the bridge with their shotguns, so I think they'll hold better that way too. We've also consolidated these troopers and given them more men, so hopefully they last a little bit longer. They've also got more M1 Abrams here to defend, and here are some of the soldiers that stayed in the front there. We've also brought up the missile systems ever so slightly, so they might be able to pop off a little bit more. And then in the way back here, we actually have 2 squads of troopers holding the gate. So that will be the last stand situation there to see if they can hold indefinitely. This is, again, only another 6,000 troopers and units, but at the same time, as you can see, a lot more fire going out right off rip, especially from those missile systems, and I think the CIWSs being a little bit farther back is also giving them better range of fire, so they're able to arc more shots over at the enemy. So these small adjustments, I think, do make the U.S. Army defense ever so slightly better. We're still seeing those Roman archers pouring some missile fire in here, so this first line of U.S. Army soldiers still likely will die pretty quickly, and then once the catapults get in range, they're also going to probably shred a lot of these U.S. Army soldiers and rightfully destroy them. It's not going to be too good, but hopefully the CIWSs and missile systems can actually stop a lot of these from coming forward. Their added firepower is probably destroying a decent number of the catapults that are trying to come forward. Yeah, look at that. Beautiful. Yes, keep doing that. The less catapults, the better on this battlefield. Actually, the amount of fire coming in is way more than last time, so I think those small adjustments really helped us out, especially because I don't think the missile systems really even did all that much in the last battle until late in the game, so them actually participating in the entirety of the battle will definitely be a lot more helpful. In fact, already I think the US Army is doing better right off rip here than they were last time around. Still getting hit very, very hard by a lot of missile fire, but simultaneously, they seem to be surviving better. M1A2 Abrams volleying out fire as well. So, their shots are small yet mighty. They're probably getting a good 30 to 40 kills per shot. That's not amazing. It's not as good as the missile systems or the CIWSs, but it's still something. The big thing with them, though, is the added armor to the battlefield. That's what we like to see, because we're hoping they can protect these riflemen for a longer period of time this time, since we did bolster the number of M1A2 Abrams by quite a bit. So why don't we go ahead and watch a time lapse of this entrance here and see how we do in round 2. Okay, boys, 1 hour later, and the bridge is still holding here. Now, the M1... How did these guys get over here? What? The M1A2 Abrams are dead. They are deceased. But the CIWSs are still alive, as are the missile systems back here. They're firing a little bit less. I don't know if they're just taking a minute to reload. There we go. There we go, boys. Keep the fire up. That's what we like to see. Beautiful. And the Romans are about halfway across the bridge. Now, they've taken over 1 million losses here, and the U.S. Army has taken about 4,000 losses at this point. So the U.S. is doing far better this time around, but we still gotta see if they can keep it up, because last time around, we thought they were doing quite well, and then they didn't. They did horrible. So this is going to be the real make it or break it area here, I think. I think we need to see at least 3 to 4 million kills before the Romans fully cross the bridge and take out the CIWSs. That would certainly be helpful, for sure. Now, are the marksmen firing is a good question, because if they're not, that's the light machine gunners. Yeah, they're not firing. Hopefully, once they start crossing the bridge, they'll start firing, and then we'll have another element to this whole thing. But for now, this is looking rough for the Romans. This is actually looking pretty good for the U.S. Army. Let's go ahead and watch overhead here. Another 30 minutes have passed, boys, and we're at 8 million remaining Roman soldiers. They've defeated all the soldiers that the U.S. have on the bridge, save for a few shotgunners back here. However, these Romans are still being kept at bay by these CIWSs as well as by the missile systems. Now, this is kind of the make it or break it point that we saw last time around, where, they held when we went to bed here and then didn't. But they did get another 1 million kills defending here. We're at 8 million now. Last game we were at 7 million upon defeat. So I think maybe the CIWSs, the missile systems, and the shotgun units could potentially hold this. Now we've, used 100 gigabytes so far of space on the computer out of my 300 total. So I want to let this ride for a little bit without time-lapsing, but we will be back for more time-lapses later. I'm saving some storage space in case this battle ends up being very long. Ooh, a few catapult shots are actually hitting back here. That could be dangerous. All right, I'll let this ride, and for you guys, it'll just be a second. Okay, well, another, 45 minutes have passed just about, and 7.2 million Romans remaining. So we're almost at where we were last time around. Look at all these guys flying into the lava below. That's crazy, bro. They're all just tumbling on down there. But 7.2 million Romans remain. that means over 2 million have died at this point, and still 24,000 U.S. Army soldiers survive. So the U.S. Army is actually doing quite well for themselves now. This is wonderful. We might have a victory on our hands. Potentially. Maybe. We might be getting ahead of ourselves. Let's time-lapse from the Roman POV over here. Just watching the slaughter. Alright, gamers! It's been another half an hour. Look at this body pile growing, baby. Huge! 6.9 million Romans remain, 24,000 U.S. Army soldiers remain. So, the U.S. Army is clapping cheeks and taking names and not really losing too many soldiers. I've noticed every so often a catapult shot will hit over here. And also some are hitting some of these guys. Like, look, they're damaged ever so slightly. So, you know, they could eventually defeat this line. It'll take some time, but, you know, they're making slow progress, but it is progress. It's better than just a complete and utter stall of the attackers. We are just going to let this ride again for a little bit, so I'll see you guys in just a second. Right, gamers. It's been like another hour and a half now, I think. I don't know. I'm not really keeping track of time that much. But we have 4.9 million remaining Romans, meaning 4.6 million have died at this point. That's impeccable. Way to go, U.S. Army soldiers. You can see all of the impact zones that the catapults have made, including taking out a number of the CIWSs back here. So U.S. infrastructure is dying ever so slightly. It's not horrible, it's not dramatic yet, but it could get worse. Although I will say, there's a lot of catapults over there, and a few over there, but everyone in the middle has kind of gone down. There's a few attacking over this way, because they're kind of hugging this wall, but the catapults have seriously dwindled in numbers, which is a major player in the Roman assault. I also don't know how they're doing archer-wise. We could be looking at infantry only for the rest of the battle, potentially. I'm not totally sure. There's still a lot of shotgun units over here, but the CIWSs are the main thing that's really cooking right now and destroying the enemy. My goodness, despite a few deaths for them. Either way, why don't we do a time-lapse now? 23,000 U.S. Army soldiers remaining, 4.9 million Romans. Another 40 minutes have passed, and there's 4.5 million Romans still remaining. They're just getting cooked here, and the U.S. Army is really not losing too many soldiers anymore. I think the range units for the Roman army are dying out. There are still some catapults left alive. Oh, and there's archers here, too. There's archers here. Okay, so they could be moving up to the front line still, actually. Oh, yeah, they are. So they could get some kills. The problem is they're just right now not at all because they're so far away. Yikes. Let's let this ride again for like another hour or two maybe. See what happens. Not going to time lapse because we are running very low on the gigabits. Okay. Oh, I didn't stop recording. Okay. Okay, 30 minutes later, and they're still holding in pretty much the exact same way as before. This battle might be Jover, baby. I'll let this run for quite some time here, I guess. Hot dang, boys. It's been another couple hours, and look at the body pile. But more importantly, look at the dead soldiers over here. The CIWSs have all passed, and since there's not a crazy amount of Romans around them, I have a feeling that they died from catapult shots. Are there still catapults? Yeah, there are still catapults alive, so even more could be coming for the missile systems. There are still some shotgun units over here left alive, but the Romans are bit by bit getting up to them and taking some stabs at them. So, huge losses for the U.S. Army right now. They've got about 17,000 soldiers remaining, though. And the good news for them is that there's only 2.4 million remaining Romans, meaning they have done big damage to the enemies. Absolutely massive. While we watch these shotgun troopers, and hopefully they'll live for a little bit longer, but it's unlikely that they will survive for much longer. I'll be honest. But let's watch. Alright, boys. Looks like more shotgunners have died, but there's still a decent amount back here. They're nice. Yeah, I mean, the Romans are making some progress, but also stalling out quite a bit. They're continuously losing troopers, as you can see at the top right. Sorry, rather, the US is continuously losing troopers. The Romans are losing a lot of troopers constantly, but they're getting some kills, at the very least. Right now, it's really the missile systems, which do have some damage done to them from catapults, but I think all of them are still alive. Also, oh yeah, there are still catapults out this way that are coming forward. So there's the potential for kills, but certainly not as many. On top of that, the marksmen back here are helping out a decent. How did that guy get all the way over there? Oh, look at that. There's another right there. Oh, and the LMGers are getting some kills. Wait, hold on. A catapult must have hit right here. That's interesting. And these guys are just chilling. I'm just gonna let this ride for a while because we're really running low on gigabits, baby. All right, boys, we're closing in on the end here, it appears. 700,000 Romans still remain. And it looks like they killed a few more of the shotgunners over here, but there's still plenty of shotgunners left alive over there to distract them from the missile systems, which seems to be clearing out these guys pretty easily. Even though pretty much all the bodies are flying around the map when they die, also a very large number have stacked up here in some pretty incredible body piles. That's nuts. Now there's 15,960 remaining U.S. Army soldiers and 690,000 remaining Romans. We'll do another time lapse. Why not? We'll do a nice overhead here. Alright guys, it's been another half an hour here. Looks like these guys over here did end up dying, but beyond that, the Romans are not reaching these to kill them. There's only 400,000 Romans left alive. There's still 15,000 U.S. Army soldiers left alive. So I say what we go ahead and do is drop the final weapon, the nuke, on the Roman soldiers. There was a 0% chance of them winning at this point in the battle, so let's go ahead and have a little fun with some mega weapons of mass destruction here for the ending. If you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below. I'll see you on the next one. Peace. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to click that subscribe button for more content, and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted to whenever I live stream or upload. Thanks so much.